Hi, I'm Chelly Wood, and this is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little pinafore or summer dress, which is designed to fit 10-inch dolls like Rainbow High and similar sized dolls. Today's project will require a basic understanding of simple pattern alterations. So this dress will be a lot like my strawberry shortcake pinafore, but the skirt will be fuller and will have trims. In this tutorial though, you may see photos from my strawberry shortcake pinafore project. Note, this is a fairly advanced project, but it's perfect for students who are in my online class. You can learn more about my classes on my website. So without further ado, please go to my website, chellywood.com, to download and print this free PDF sewing pattern. Because we'll add eyelet lace along the bottom, you'll want to alter the length of your skirt pattern by cutting the skirt 2 centimeters shorter than the pattern shows. Be sure to pin it on the fold before cutting the skirt fabric. But I also cut my skirt with an extra inch of width, which will add that fullness to the final dress. Cut rickrack trim to match the width of the skirt, and use your pattern to cut out all 6 bodice pieces as well. Hem one of the longest edges of the cut skirt by folding once and then a second time. Whip stitch to hem. If you need help with the whip stitch, I do have a tutorial for that. Just look in the description below this video on YouTube. Lay your bodice back against its lining, keeping the right sides together. Stitch the back to its lining, sewing around the armhole area and the neckline. Follow these directions for both backs. Clip the seams. I'll be using Fisker Stitcher's mini scissors as I do my clipping, and if you don't have a pair of these and you're planning to make quite a few doll clothes, I highly recommend them. Clip both backs and then invert them. Now I like to use a chopstick to help with inverting because it's so narrow, and you'll see me doing that right here. So I'm inverting one of my backs, and you just give your chopstick a little twist. Press your seams. Now let's work with the bodice front for a little while. Lay one bodice front on top of the other. Again, you'll want to keep those right sides together. Sew around the neck and both armhole areas. Just as we did with the backs, you're going to clip and invert the bodice front. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm clipping around the armhole area, around the neckline, both armhole areas and the neckline. And then I'm going to invert, and again you want to give your chopstick a little twist, gently, gently, very slow and easy. Press your seams. Now you will have 2 bodice backs and 1 front. Note that there's a notch at the sides of the front and back pieces. Open the garment pieces at this notch and join front to back, aligning these notches. Here's a little video clip to show you what I mean, because this is a little complicated right here. Okay, so here's my bodice back, here's my front, and I look where those notches are. Okay, line them up, open the back, open the front and line up the notches. Just like that. Okay. Now we're going to stitch across the area where those notches join together. Clip and invert this seam, and that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so I clip next to the notches, invert, attach the other back piece exactly the same way. You're going to attach it to the front, and here's another clip to help you understand how to attach it. Okay, so I open this up, paying attention to where my front is. Okay, there are my front notches. Here's my back. Here are my back notches. I line those up. And then stitch, clip, and invert again. Okay, so I've stitched them, and now I'm going to clip them very close where the seam I just finished meets the other seams. And then you just invert it like this. Press all seams in the bodice. Okay, now let's work with our skirt for a little while. On the wrong side of the hemmed skirt, pin your eyelet trim directly to the hem. Stitch it in place right along that hem. Add rick-rack, stitching it to the skirt just above the hem's edge on the right side of the skirt. Gather the skirt along the opposite side from the trim, but this is very important, leave a 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter area ungathered on both sides of the skirt. Also, keep your needle and thread attached for this next phase. In other words, do not tie off your gather thread just yet. Next, open up the bodice like this. Pin the gathered part of the skirt to the outer fabric of the bodice, not the lining, just the outer fabric, including the ungathered edges as you align them. Okay, so quick video to show you. So I've opened up my bodice and I've pinned the gathered skirt, not to this part that's the lining, but to the outer fabric of the bodice. Once pinned, as long as the skirt fits the bodice, you may now knot and tie off your gather thread. If it doesn't fit, adjust your gathers and then re-pin. Okay, so I've pinned. I make sure that my sides are all lined up, and then I tie my gathers off. And then I finish pinning. Attach the gathered skirt to the outer bodice, the bodice that will be the right side of the bodice, but not the bodice's lining. So once again, we are only stitching to the outer fabric of the bodice. I used a back stitch here. If you need help with the back stitch, it's in the description below too. Attach the skirt to the bodice, even at the sides where the fabric has not been gathered. Here's a video clip to show you what I mean. Okay, so see how I have attached it fully on the side? You're going to want to do that on both sides. I think of that as the back closure area. And you can see that I'm sewing it only to the outer fabric of the bodice, not the lining. Okay, I'm sewing it just to that outer fabric. Now that you've fully attached the skirt to that outer fabric of the bodice, open the bodice up like this. and fold the sides of the bodice in to form that back closure area. Fold once and then a second time. Okay, so here we go. I've got that bodice wide open. I fold once. I fold a second time. We're going to continue folding all the way down. Baste stitch along this folded edge from the bottom edge of the bodice's lining, which would be at the top of this picture, all the way down the skirt to the edge of the eyelet trim on both sides. Fold the bottom of the bodice lining in, so it looks kind of like the top, but it's really the bottom of the bodice lining. You want to fold it in about 1/4 of an inch or 6.5 millimeters. Then fold the whole bodice down enclosing the raw edges of the gathered skirt fabric inside the bodice. Okay, so again, that's kind of tricky, so I'm going to show you with video clip. So here's my bodice in my fingers. I fold it down once, and then I just fold the entire bodice, and you want to enclose all those raw gather edges in between the bodices. Now whip stitch to seal the back closure area, and continue to whip stitch along the bottom of the bodice, keeping those raw edges of the gathered skirt enclosed inside the bodice itself. Whip stitch to seal the other back closure. Whip stitch from the bottom of the bodice down to the bottom of the eyelet lace trim. Whip stitch this back closure along the opposite side of the dress as well, and use a seam ripper to pick out the based stitches along both sides of the dress. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just unpicking or seam ripping the based stitch that I had to hold that in place. Now flip the dress over so you're looking at the right side. Fold one side in to connect the dress's two straps. So let me show you what I mean. You fold it so now you're looking at the wrong side, and you pinch right there at the top to bring those two straps together. Pinch the straps together at the top and stitch them together. After I do this, I finger press that seam. Flip the other side over and join these straps together as well. Okay, so I've got one strap that's already sewn, and we bring these straps together and we sew those. You're going to stitch across the top of this strap. Now your dress will look like this. Turn it right side out. Okay, so here's my dress, and again I've finger pressed at those seams that I just finished on the straps. That way it'll lay flatter. Okay, now it's right side out. Add a row of snaps down the back, and now you're ready to try it on a doll. It can be worn as a pinafore over another dress, and I have a pattern for that dress, or by itself as a pretty summer dress. For more free printable PDF sewing patterns to fit dolls of many shapes and all different sizes, please remember to visit my website, chellywood.com. What if there was an easy way to take a big doll pattern and resize it to fit a little doll, or vice versa? I'm Chelly with the Doll Clothing Designer, and in my pattern alteration class, I'm going to share with you my resizing formula. Pattern alteration is when you take a pattern that you already own and you make changes to it. Let's say a dress doesn't fit your doll quite right. I'll show you how to create a gusset to extend the dress's bodice. Along the same lines, I'll show you how to use a doll's body measurements to lengthen and shorten shirt sleeves, and to recreate the pants patterns you already own so they will fit dolls of different shapes and sizes. Following my instructions, you'll learn how to reshape dresses and skirts, making them fuller or less full depending on the look you're going for. With this collection of more than 40 videos, you'll use my measurement guide and dozens of tips and tricks to create a full wardrobe for the doll or dolls of your choice. I invite you to join me. We are going to have so much fun.